watching another Providing Resources for Emergency Preparedness YouTube video. Today I'm going to show you how to bake a moist banana nut bread. And I'm going to get started by showing you our simple ingredients that we're going to use and our hardware. So we're going to start. For this recipe, you're going to need a stick of soft butter. As you can see, that's really soft, room temperature. Sugar, unbleached all-purpose flour, baking soda, sour cream, good quality pure vanilla extract, do not use the imitation, organic eggs, kosher salt, organic bananas, and pecans or walnuts, whichever one you choose, and a little solid shortening in a bag for greasing your pan. So I'm going to tell you what we need for hardware. You're going to need a loaf pan, a bowl and a sieve, a cutting board, paper towel, and a KitchenAid stand mixer. Now you can make this recipe by hand. Just stir it up real good, but as you can see, I already have my bowl attached and my paddle attachment. But you can make this by hand, like I said before, and you just get a big spoon and give it a good stir, but don't overwork it, and I'll talk more about that in the video. So now let's get started. The first thing I want to do, like I do in all my baking videos, is I want to start preheating my oven. And I want to get my oven heated up to 350 degrees. Alrighty, and that's it. The second thing I want to do is I want to grease my loaf pan. Now I've showed this trick in several videos already, but I'll do it again. What I do in order to avoid getting my hands dirty is I put my solid shortening in a bag, and then I turn the bag inside out. And I use the bag to get the inside of the pan greased up. And you want to just use a little. You don't want it real thick because a little goes a long way. If you put it in real thick, what'll happen is you'll get a lot of cake and flour on the outside of your loaf. But you want to definitely use enough so that the loaf releases easy when you're done baking. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I just want to look at it real quick and double check that I got in all the corners. That's great. So here, you take your bag, you flip it back out, and if you have nails or acrylic, then you don't have to worry about having oil under your nails. And that's it, and then you just toss this in the garbage. So the next thing I want to do, I got my pan all greased up and it's ready to go. So the next thing I want to do is add some flour to my pan. So you want to grease and flour your loaf pan. And you don't need a lot of flour, so I'm just going to add a little. That looks like enough. Maybe a little bit more. And I'm going to work it around. So let me come over here so I can take it down. So you want to just work the flour around your loaf pan, and you'll see that I have the paper towel here so it can fall on the paper towel, not on my floor, and I won't make a mess. You can pull back a little. You see how I'm making sure that I get all sides around, and plus I'm tapping my flour down so it doesn't get gloppy. But I want to make sure I get all sides of my pan. And I'm just going to go around like this, because when I'm done, I want to make sure that this cake or this banana nut bread loaf releases easy. So that looks like I got it good. I got a little left in the corner. Right, so I'm going to fix that up. So as I was twirling around, I noticed that I didn't get in this corner really good, but I want to make sure the entire loaf comes out. So I'm going to come back with a butter knife and some solid shortening, and I'm just going to wipe in this area because I want to make sure that this comes out. Right? And I'm going to go back down here with my flour. That looks like that came out perfect. So now it's all covered in every area, and I'm going to tap it out on my paper towel. Voila. All dusted and floured. And now what I'll do is I'll just fold up my towel and toss this in the garbage. So now that I got my pan all greased up and floured, I want to move on to the next step of assembling the banana nut loaf. So the next thing I want to do, as I said, I got my KitchenAid stand mixer already set up. I'm going to grab my stick of softened butter and my sugar. So I want to take my softened butter, and you see that it is soft, and I'm going to open it up. You want this room temperature because you want to cream the butter with the sugar. And I take my butter and wipe it off. Alright, what I want to do is I want to take my 1 cup of sugar and put it in the stand mixer. And the same with the flour as I showed you in previous videos. You don't want to use the scoop method. You definitely want to be spooning your sugar and flour into your measuring cup, because if you go with the scoop, you're going to get way much sugar and flour than what you really need. So just take this moment, take this simple step to ensure your recipe comes out right each and every time. Tap twice, level, pour it in. Now we're going to get this leveled down. We got a little cloud of sugar dust. We're going to lock our stand mixer, and we're going to put it on 1 and start it on low, just so that it works in, because you know sugar like flour will blow up on you, and we don't want that. So as our sugar creams, and you want that to cream in really good and get worked in so it's smooth. So I'm going to leave that on low while I get my flour together. Alright, I'm going to cut off my workspace here. I've already got my brown organic eggs, and I've cracked those here so I can set this to the side. So now I brought over my sifter in my bowl so I can get started on my dry ingredients while my butter and my sugar are coming together. So like before, I always say you want to scoop your flour, so you want to fluff it up because it's been set down and got settled, but you want to fluff it so it doesn't fluff all over me. And you want to add your flour to your cup. And like before, I always say I overfill. Tap twice and level. Put that in your sieve. And you want 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So that was 1 cup. That's your 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to get that out the way. Next, you want 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And again, you want to make sure that you're using fresh baking soda. And I'm going to go in here to my baking soda box and fluff it up because it's been set and settled. But again, you want to make sure you're using fresh baking soda. Don't try to make this recipe with baking soda that's been sitting in your cabinet for like a year or a couple of months or so. So you want 1 teaspoon, and I'm going to use 2 because this is a half. You want 1 teaspoon of baking soda. You want 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to use 2 because this is a half. I'm going to let you see that does say a half. But you want 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. And the salt is always kosher in every recipe I use. If you try to make this with regular salt, it's going to be too salty. Now before we sift our flour, I'm going to come back over here so you can see the butter and the sugar creamed together. I'm going to stop this for a second. I'm going to raise it up and I'm going to scrape it down. And when I scrape it down, you want to make sure you get underneath, and you get all that scraped down. Because you really want to work that sugar into that butter so that it's light and fluffy. You see how the consistency of the butter has changed? So we're going to put this back on, and that's the noise you'll be hearing in the background. But you definitely want to scrape this down so that you work that sugar into that butter real good. Now, I see a little bit on this side because I'm looking from the opposite direction. Okay. But you want to scrape that down and allow that sugar and butter to work in on low. So I'm going to put that back on 1. Actually, I'm going to put it on 2. Okay, and let that work in. Now we're going to go back over here. And I'm going to sift my flour, my baking soda, and my salt. And like always, I put my hand still and I sift. I bring the sifter to my hand and I sift my flour. And the reason we sift is because we don't want that. We don't want those leftovers. So you can toss that. Okay? So now my flour is ready. And while my butter and sugar is still getting ready, I'm going to get my sour cream ready. So you want a 1/2 cup of sour cream. And I add sour cream to a lot of my cakes because it makes them really moist. That's my secret to all the cakes that I do, is that I put a little sour cream in them depending on what else I'm adding. So, alrighty. So this little thing helps out nicely with getting sour cream. So I'll put that to the side. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to mash up my organic banana. And you can use ripe bananas. That's a good way to use up bananas if you have them. And I'm going to use 2 bananas because I know 2 bananas will make a cup. And I'm just going to use my fork to mash them up while my butter and sugar are still over there just churning away. So that's my first banana. As you can see, this first banana gave me exactly a 1/2 cup. So I'm going to go with my second organic banana. Take that part off. And I'm going to add that to my cup. Okay. And that's good. Okay. And I'm going to mash that up with my fork inside my cup. Okay, so you want to give that a good mash, and it's just mashing up your bananas. Alright. And then the